just exactly where we left in the last movie. So let's just continue in there. And what I'll be doing is I'll be going a little bit down in here, and I would like to have a couple of buttons in here. So I would be saying just button, and button would be simply a self-closing tag. No, self-closing would not be good. So button, there we go. Now we do have a button, and I'll just press Command Shift D and D because I need 3 buttons. And this guy would say log in, makes sense. And this guy is going to be sign up, good. And the last one is going to say log out. Okay, let's just see how the button looks like. They looks pretty good. Some preloaded CSS has been loaded up. Nothing big deal. We have just got a plain simple CSS there. Okay, that is good. Now we are good so far. And now let's just proceed on how we are gonna do the things. Now, first of all, we are gonna work on the login. Okay, so in the login, we have to do a couple of things. We have to capture the email, we have to capture the password, and somebody when clicks on the login, we need to contact the Firebase, and we should do a check that whether we should allow him to log in or not. Because if there is already an account, then only we'll be able to log in him. Otherwise, let's just print out an error there, okay? That your account doesn't exist, you need to sign up, something like that. Okay, so let's get started with an on-click event. That makes sense. On-click would be something like this dot login. And again, I know a lot of you doesn't like to use the function before defining it, but that's how I work. No problem at all in case you don't like that. So first of all, we are calling this function. Now, obviously, the thing that makes sense now is calling the constructor. So let's just go ahead and into the class and call the constructor because we need to bind this. I just don't want to say here dot bind again and again. And this is something that can bug me off. So we'll say rcon for constructor. We don't need to go in the state right now. We'll be just saying this dot login equals this dot login dot bind. Okay, and this is going to have an access to this. Okay, so there we go. So whatever the function we'll be defining, we'll be binding it. And obviously we have mentioned it previous a number of times that you can do a dot bind in here as well, just like this. But whenever you're going to use the function, you have to do this. So it makes much more sense to do it in the constructor. And this is going to do all the things for you. Okay, obviously it's complaining because we don't have the login method in here. So let's just go in here and do a simple login. And should be good now. Okay, and our app is fixed right now. Okay, now let's just go into the login and see what we need to do. Now the first thing that we'll be doing is getting the email and password. So what we can do is we can pass on an event there. Maybe we need that. Okay, and then we'll be doing a constant of email so that we can grab the email. How we're gonna grab that? Really simple. This dot refs dot email dot value. Okay, so there we go. So we have mentioned a ref there. Where is it? Here is the ref, and that is how we are able to capture the values. So I'll be just simply saying Command Shift D. I'll be using multiple things in here. So that is going to be password. Save that. So we have now got email and password, and let's just try to print that on the console. So that would make much more sense, and that would be simply email comma password. And let's just see if I click on the login, we get something onto the log. So inspect and go to the console. By the way, there's a shortcut as well. Again, let's just say this and that. Okay, let's hit the login, and there we go. We can see this and that there. Okay, so this is there. Good. Testing is going good so far. We have got the login in here. Now the next thing that we want to do is contact the Firebase and check out if the things are good. I'll just leave this console log just for you, otherwise we don't need it. So I'll be simply saying let's just have a constant of auth, and we'll be just using a simple Firebase query here. So Firebase dot auth. You can write it there as well, but I think this is much more efficient. And there we go. Okay, Now what we want to do is to sign in with email and password. So all what we'll be doing is auth dot sign in with email and password. Make sure you are writing the case sensitivity things quite nicely because this is very much important. Sign in with email and password, and this is a camel case, so I, W, E, A, and P are going to be in the caps. So this is the query that we are making, and what it gives you, first of all, what it takes, it's obviously going to take email and password, and that is what we have already got in here. Okay, and what it returns you is a promise. So it's going to return you a simple promise. And promise can be dealt up with two things. We can do some things, or we can just catch the error. Okay. Right now it's not gonna do anything because we don't have an account there, so it's gonna throw us an error. Let's just deal up with the error first. So we are gonna simply say promise dot catch. This is how you catch the error, and obviously it's gonna have an error. Let's use a fat arrow function and do some things in here. Let's just close this guy as well. And what we'll be doing is let's just create a variable error for error, and we are going to simply use e dot a property is there being thrown that is known as a message. So whatever the error message is, it's going to be throwing at like your email is not correctly formatted, or password is weak, or maybe other things. Okay, so this is going to just throw up the errors. And now it's a good idea to create a state element that is going to be for error, and right now it's going to be just blank. Okay, now what we can do in here is we can change this variable. And by the way, if you are wondering why we are doing this, we would be doing something in here. So just below this guy, we would be doing a paragraph, and there we go. Right now this paragraph is not having anything, so that is why it's not going to do anything. And what we'll be doing is we'll be printing our messages in here. So this dot state dot okay, I know that's not a good name to get out with the but you know, I'm not that creative with the names. Okay, and what we'll be doing after that is, first of all, let's just grab a message there so we can log the message as well. So we can simply say okay, that's a good idea to log the things. And we'll be saying this dot set state, and we can just change the state of our variable. So in the curly braces, we're going to simply say or we can also say By the way, in the ES6, again, you don't need to say colon error. It's smart enough to know that I need to set this property from above variable. Pretty easy. Okay, now let's go there, and first of all, we're going to say super, and we're going to say super. And let's just log in, and it says the email address is badly formatted. So this is working, and this is also logging the things into the console. Looks good, looks okay to me. And if I just say super@superman.com, maybe that's an email, and I'll be saying super cooler, just making things up, and I hit the login, it's gonna say there is no user record corresponding to this identifier. The user may have been deleted. You can also modify the message as well, by the way. But all it's saying is very true, that our user doesn't exist. We don't have anything inside in the console. So if I just close that and go to authentication, we don't have any users. So our application is working just nice and fine. Okay, so that is good so far. We are getting an error. But we haven't talked anything about what happens if somebody actually is able to log in so far. So our button work is there. Let's just leave a quick to do there so that we can come back in here. And just like a good programmer, we'll say to do, and we'll be saying handle login promise. So in the promise, if what happens if somebody has logged in, so we'll be just doing things. Okay, looks good, and I think we are going with a great pace so far, and you are understanding each and everything. Now in the next video, let's talk about how we can enroll a user and can make some entry in the database as well as things. So I hope you are enjoying the series so far. If you are enjoying it, make sure you give it some good ratings. Your kind words are always appreciated. And I'll catch you up in the next video.